Hey folks, this is Steve Wolston here. We're going to have a slightly different kind of video today because one of my coaching clients, Kathryn O'Riordan's, volunteered to do a video with me to talk about how coaching has been useful to her. We're going to talk about the problem that she brought to coaching and the work that we did, the insight points for her, and talk about the value that she's got out of it as well as the process. So, welcome, Kathryn. Good
Hi.
to have you on. And please tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, Irish woman. I'm living in the southwest of France, and I'm working as an English teacher. Um, and I have a little son and a husband here, a pretty good life here. But as it is, teaching here doesn't pay very much. So I wanted to expand my business a little bit online, to look at some different avenues in teaching. Uh,
Fantastic. Yeah. And tell me a little bit about the problem that brought you to coaching.
for a while, up until I contacted you, I was completely overwhelmed, to be honest. And once I started on this online journey, which was, I'd say, about a year ago, maybe. When I started going onto YouTube and Instagram, and then it's like a Pandora's box, really, isn't it? Because you start looking at what everyone else is doing, and you're like, oh my God, I could be doing that, and I could be doing this. I should be on TikTok. I should be doing this. I should be sending newsletters. Maybe I'll do a podcast. So it's like your mind is just exploded, and it was very it fast became very overwhelming to
Yeah.
me, because I'm not someone who deals with too many things in my head very well. So as well as having my work where I actually teach for quite a lot of the week, that real work where I have real students, I was trying to do this online work as well, and it was just all getting too much for me. And what that meant was that I wasn't spending enough time with my family. I was thinking about work all the time. The ideas were just going, but it not in a like, oh, I'm such a creative genius. It was more like, this is just too much. And I was working a lot of hours and really not getting much done, to be honest. So yeah, I knew something had to give, because I was getting irritable and tired and not having a good time.
And thanks for sharing that. And if there's one thing that we know about work is that there's always more that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're quite right. When you go out there into the information environment, and there's all these people saying you should do this, you should do that, you need to be doing the other, then yeah, of course we're going to get overwhelmed. And if I'm right, Kathryn, I think you first came across me because I think you found the videos that I'd done on overthinking
Mm-hmm.
and catastrophizing. And folks, if you want to watch that video, I'll pop it in a card up here right now. So we connected. We started talking about overwhelm. Tell me a little bit about how you experienced the first few sessions that we had.
Well, from the first session, I was kind of just talking to someone about it, other than my husband, because he doesn't really understand. Was a relief, to be honest. Just talking to someone neutral, and you were just there to listen to me for an hour, and it was just really good that I could just get everything out that I want to talk about. So that, first of all, and then as I was talking and you were asking questions, I started to realize that everything literally was in my head, and nothing was written down, nothing was planned. I had a vague idea of what I wanted to do. I had goals, but there was no format, there was no like structure to it.
No. And one of the things that
So
I
yeah,
find when people have that, and I think we probably talked about it at the time, is it's a little bit like when they have like plates spinning on a stick on an entertainment show, and the guy has to keep running around and keep spinning the plates to stop them falling
yeah,
off. It's a
yeah.
little bit like
Hmm.
that, and you have to do
Hmm.
a hell of a lot of mental gymnastics to be able to spin all that information around just in your head.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I'm prone to a bit of anxiety, I think. So, I mean, that just made things worse. Like, I didn't cope very well with it. So yeah, just, I think from the very first session, we started to map out what my priorities were. Like, you can't do everything. You don't have the time. So what do you really want to do? What's if you want to make money, if that's your first priority, what's going to make you the money? So that's what we focused on, because my aim was making more money. And so we kind of started from there, and we set out a plan on a certain project that was going to get me that result. Mm.
Yeah, because I
Mm.
seem to remember that I recall that we were talking about value creating activities and value subtracting activities. Because let's face it, as human beings, we tend to get involved with both. We tend to get into the value creating activities because obviously we want to create value, but we
Mm.
get into the value subtracting activities for distractions, for entertainment, and things like this. And let's be clear, as human beings, we need distractions, we need entertainment.
Mm.
But at the same time, when we can get really clear about whether what we're doing is value creating or value subtracting, then we can also get really clear about how we want to time box those things. Because,
Mm.
I say again, we actually do need the distractions, we do need the entertainment. But what we can do is take them out of those focused hours where we want to focus on the value creating stuff
Mm.
and focus on these things in their own time. I mean, the
Mm.
way I sometimes put it to people is, sometimes I might be playing music in the background while I'm writing something.
Mm.
But the truth of the matter is I'm either ignoring the music or I'm dividing my attention.
Mm.
Either way, it's not good.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm either not experiencing the music, in which case, why play it
Mm.
in the first place?
Mm.
Or I am
Mhm.
experiencing it, in which case I'm taking away from the work. So one of the
Yeah.
mantras that I learned to live by, and again, I think we talked about this, is the idea of having high quality experience. So if it's time to create value, let's focus on creating value for that
Mm.
box of time.
Mm.
And if it's time to listen to music, then let's listen to music and be
Mhm.
present with that and
Mhm.
enjoy it and be fully with
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And not be thinking about something else when you're trying to do the fun stuff, so yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. And in terms of the practical things, what were your main light bulb moments in the things that we were talking about?
Well, I think a big thing for me was that one of the big things is that I was trying to produce an online course. At the same time, I was trying to do one YouTube video a week. Okay, a free one, like a promotional one, one to help people, because it's teaching English. But I couldn't do both at the same time, and well, I should have figured this out by myself, but I didn't. That one thing has to go, and it was the one video a week on YouTube, because it was taking me forever to edit, and I just decided to let it go, just let it go for a while I'm doing this course, and then come back to it. And it's funnily enough, and I think you told me this happened to somebody else or one of your clients, was that it didn't stop growing throughout that time that I stopped producing videos. It's kept growing, actually, at the same pace it was, even when I was putting out one video a week. So it just, yeah, so that was an interesting observation. So I stopped doing that, and I didn't post to Instagram so much, so I could focus on the one project that I wanted to do, and just getting that project underway in a more in a way that I had it planned out in my diary. I could see the end date. I knew what I had to do every week. That was huge because I think I'm actually going to do this. It's not just in my head. I'm going to get it finished,
Yeah.
So that was a big kind of weight off my mind, that it wasn't just a pie in the sky project that I was trying to do. That was huge for me.
Good, and I'm really pleased that it was. And just for the benefit of the people watching, one of the things about being overwhelmed is that there is both a mental and an emotional aspect to it, but there's also a practical aspect. And of course, we need to address both in the work that we do. And in terms of the practical aspect of it, reducing overwhelm is not just about taking care of ourselves emotionally, which, as I said, is part of it. It's not just about practical ways of getting productive and getting work shifting, but it's actually also about subtraction. It's also about getting clear on what we're not going to do, because we need to create the time for what we are going to do. And I know, for example, that we talked a lot about getting things out of your head and onto paper, onto visualizable, whether it's sheets of paper, whether it's something online, to get it out of your head so that you don't have to spin all these mental plates, and that you can lay the work out in front of you. And I know that one of the things that we talked about were visual planning methods such as Kanban boards, things like that. And you're right, the ability to visualize the work, both where it is, what's there to be done, what's in progress, what's in the backlog, what's already done, because that's also important too, to be able to see what's been produced. It's exactly like you say, it stops it being a vague concept of what you want to do, and all of a sudden it is almost like to use a building metaphor, it's almost like I've got a pile of bricks and I know what I know what I need to do with them.
Yeah, exactly. And renovation projects or building projects often fall behind schedule, but that's kind of, it's okay, and that's another big light bulb moment, I guess, was as well. Even if it runs over, or if I don't get it done by that week that I wanted to get it done, it's fine, because I know I'm getting it done. I know it's going to happen.
Exactly, because we talked about deadlines, didn't we? And how some people motivate themselves with deadlines. But the thing about deadlines is that if they're artificial, they don't really have any power. I think the example that I used is, let's say that I'd set myself the goal of earning a certain amount of money or creating a certain amount of money by, say, September. Now, what's going to happen if I get to September and I've only created 90% of the money? What do I stop? Do I kick myself? Well, the answer to that question is, of course, no, I don't stop, and there's no point in kicking yourself. You just carry on and finish the work. So we talked quite a lot about the difference between having a timeline and having a deadline, because if we don't have a timeline, we've got nothing to organize ourselves by. So it is useful to have a timeline, but at the end of the day, if it's an arbitrary deadline, you don't run up to it and then give up if you're not quite there,
or kick yourself or feel guilty, or
you push through.
It's the timeline thing is the most important, really. Having that plan laid out for yourself.
Like the schedule that we envisage, is an organizing principle for us, and quite a powerful organizing principle.
Exactly. And one of the reasons that was a big thing for me, because I was feeling guilty all the time. I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more. This should kept going. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And that quietened a lot, because I knew, again, I knew I was going to get there, but also because I wanted to prioritize other things in my life. And one of those was exercise. that I was kind of putting to the side a bit. And so if my project goes on a little bit because I've prioritized something that's also very important to me, then that's okay, you know. Or if something unexpected happened, or, you know, I'm not going to feel guilty about it, or I'm not going to get angry about it, which I was, you know, something unexpected, you know, like my laptop breaking or something like that, you know, which it did. And like just recently, it's just back actually. So I was kind of out of video editing for 2 weeks at least. So my project had to wait a little bit. And to be honest, I just enjoyed that time.
Well, I mean, you had a proper out of your control setback.
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
these things happen, you know, because in the achievement of anything, you know, we've got to deal with bumps in the road. You had a bump in the road.
Yeah. And before that would have freaked me out completely. I would have been really pissed off. But, you know, it was like, right, I can't do anything about this. It's okay. I'll get it done. Just, I have to wait till it comes back. And I wasn't trying to pull time forward or anything like that. So it was good. Yeah.
And you write about the whole blame and shame thing because it serves no purpose except to make us feel bad. Mm-hmm. And I know that a lot of people have this belief that if you make yourself feel bad, you'll get motivated. And that may be true for some people, but, you know, for me, if you really believe in what you want to do, you don't need to make yourself feel bad to do it. So again, one of the things we talked about in the sort of self-care aspect of this, the emotional self-care aspect, was about, you know, stopping with the whole blame and shame and, you know, and simply looking forward and you know, working at the work. And, you know, these other things you were talking about, by the way, and again, for the benefit of our readers, what we're talking about here is the fact that even though we might have a very focused business project, the fact of the matter is we lead complete lives. We don't lead, you know, lives which are narrow focused on just work things. And of course, if we don't take care of our other needs, you know, our emotional needs, our family life needs, our exercise needs, our self-care needs, then you might achieve the one project and everything else fall apart.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it really is important that even when you have a very focused business goal, that you know how that's fitting in with everything else that you need in your life. You need time with your kids. You need time for yourself. And so I'm going to link another video up here, folks, which is all about what I call the wheel of life, the idea of, you know, not just addressing one thing narrowly, but knowing how that fits in with the whole system of life.
It's not all or nothing either. Like, I mean, you can be like Steve Jobs, or, you know, you can just do that. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I know that wasn't my thing. I don't work well like that. And I don't think many people do. Especially if you have a family, a partner or whatever. So, you know, I realized how super important it was to have a bit more balance. Another thing that I stopped doing was working in the evenings after, I think, 1 or 2 sessions with you. I said, I want my evenings back. So after 7 o'clock in the evening, I didn't work. Sometimes I did a little bit of catch-up emails, but nothing, no editing, no like major work, no filming. And that suits me because I feel it's my time, you know, to watch Netflix or cook or, you know, spend time with my son or whatever. So yeah, look, maybe things are going a little slower than what they were before because I'm not working all out. But what's good is that I'm happier. you know, and what's the point of life? It's not to be stressed and exhausted, it's to be happy, you know.
Exactly.
So
And not only are you happier, but of course the work is getting done.
oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
and
it
in a more joyful way as well, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. I mean, the whole project might have a slightly longer elapsed time,
Mm-hmm.
but it is progressing. It's going to get done, and the difference is you are happy
Mm-hmm.
rather than
Mm-hmm.
unhappy.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
another thing, and I know again we talked about this, is that one of the ways that we kid ourselves is we start working the evenings and the weekends, and we kid ourselves saying, it's just temporary. It's just till we get over the hump.
Mm, mm.
But it never is it? I mean,
No,
don't get me wrong.
it was temporary for a year. That's not temporary. Like, you know, yeah,
Exactly,
that's a
exactly.
habit.
Yeah, and it's easy to do because um, there's a lot out there to be done,
Mhm.
and sometimes we talk ourselves into it. So, well, I'll just work a few evenings, but like you say, a few becomes a lot more than a
Mm,
few. It becomes a
mm,
habit, and then it becomes a habit that's hard to break.
yeah. And
Uh,
you know what that work is, it wasn't really working as well because I was so tired that I would get distracted super easily, you know. So the quality of that work wasn't really good. You know, I don't think it was very focused or productive.
no,
You know. Mm,
exactly.
mm.
And in fact, we employed a technique, didn't we, to focus on that? Do you want to say a little bit about your experience with that?
What was that? Sorry.
So we talk about the Pomodoro technique here.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yes. That's. I don't employ that all the time, but when I need it, it's excellent. It's I literally just put a 25-minute counter on my phone, countdown, and it forces me to focus for that 25 minutes. So if an email comes in, if I put my phone on airplane mode as well, so no calls come in. You don't have to do that, but that's what I do. So I get less distracted. And yeah, I work for that 25 minutes, take that 5-minute break, where I make a phone call or I have a cup of tea or I stretch. I started stretching for 5 minutes. I never do that, like get up off my chair and stretch, you know, whereas before I would have sat at my desk for maybe 2 hours straight, you know, and maybe dive down the YouTube rabbit hole, you know, for maybe, I don't know, half an hour of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
This is
it's
where,
just,
where people I think go wrong with their focus is that like you say, they'll completely spend all their energy in one long focused session on a piece of work, and then because they're tired, they'll have an excessively long, what I would call distraction session, like a Facebook or something like that.
mm,
And again, for the benefit of people watching, I mean, the basic essence of the Pomodoro technique is that you set yourself a strict 25-minute time box to focus exclusively on the thing that you're working on. So, like you say, Kathryn, if an email comes in, no, this 25 minutes is about this. But then, as soon as the 25 minutes is up, and this is also strict, you stop. You give yourself a break. You give yourself some relief. If you want to deal with if you want to have a quick look at Facebook, great. If you want to go make a cup of tea, great. If you need a comfort break, great. Stand up, walk around, do whatever. And then once the 5 minutes is up, you're back to another 25-minute concentration time box. So it's like 25-minute focus time box, 5-minute
mm,
relief time box,
mm,
25-minute focus. And that means that you're not overextending your focus. So
mm,
you're not
mm,
completely
yeah,
tiring out. You
mm,
get the focus, the work starts shifting, but
mm,
you also get those regular relief points
yeah,
without them overrunning. And again, as I remember us discussing, and you mentioned you don't use it all the time. I find that techniques like this become, if they become rules to live by, they start to disintegrate
mm,
in terms of their usefulness. All of these things are conscious methods of breaking habits,
mm,
but not new rules to live by. And and I was really happy that you had a positive experience of putting that into action.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And tell me a little bit more about your self-care, because as I mentioned, there are there's a self-care aspect to dealing with overwhelm. Like an emotional and physical self-care. There's the practical side of it, and there's the getting realistic about what I am working on and what I'm not. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing for self-care now.
Well, after talking with you, well, I love running. So I, even in the middle of winter here and rain and really bad weather, I made a goal first of getting up in the mornings, and rather than working, to do exercise. Okay. So maybe I was a little ambitious doing it every morning. So that didn't work out. So I started to do it every second morning. So every second morning was an achievable goal for me, to get up in the morning. If I didn't feel like running, I didn't go running, but I would do something. Okay. I felt that doing exercise in the morning was better for me because I get it over with and I feel better for the rest of the day. I'm more productive. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm too tired and I don't, but I only do that really if I know I have time later in the day to do it. So it's a bit flexible, but I'm making it more of a priority because it's fundamental to me and my mental health to do some exercise.
Yeah.
So that's becoming a better habit for me now, rather than worrying about work and getting up to work in the morning, which I was doing, trying to do everything. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
In the evenings, I'm not working, like I said. Weekends, I'm not really working either, maybe just for a couple of hours as when my son sleeps. Getting myself organized mentally before I go to bed. I get everything down on paper. So that's really good for me. So I don't have to think about it when I'm sleeping. Maybe just get all the things I have to do out, and going to bed earlier. So I can get up and do that exercise in the morning. So going to bed earlier, not watching Netflix at night. That was another thing I was doing. Why was I doing that? I was watching Netflix right into the night, because I felt that was the only time I had for me. And I enjoy watching TV. And it was late at night because it was the only time I had. So now I have more time, so I don't have to go to bed.
That was one of our interesting discussion points, wasn't it? One of the reasons you were having to work into the evening is because you didn't have the energy levels during the day, and you didn't have the energy levels during the day because you weren't getting the sleep that you needed. You weren't getting the sleep you needed because the only time you were finding that you could have those distractions and entertainments, which we do need, were late at night. So it's like this cycle had formed of the very thing that you were using to refresh yourself was also diminishing your energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I actually put in place, like, okay, you can watch Netflix at night if you want to, but not every night and not late, so it's not such a kind of addictive secret thing that I do like at nighttime now. It's just, I don't need it as much either, because I have my time in the nighttime, and I have my time in the morning. So it sounds like I have a lot more time on my hands, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like, does she actually do any work? Yeah, well, I do, but
I know you do.
Yeah, but it's in the day. It's in the core hours of the day, really.
Yeah, because in many respects, what you did is you simply consciously decided about where your working hours were and where they weren't. Because I think that's another thing that we as human beings tend to fall into is we don't really make deliberate decisions about how we're going to get things done. And so we kind of float into a whole bunch of bad habits, and sometimes when you realize that you have slipped into a whole bunch of bad habits, it is time to start getting intentional.
And it's that fear as well, isn't it? The fear of loss. Like, if someone said, oh, I can't do a class before 7 o'clock in the evening, one of my students, for example, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, and I wasn't thinking of me, I was thinking of them. So it was that fear of like, if I don't do this, then they'll go away or something. Do you know what I mean? And that's not the case. That's not true.
No, indeed.
Yeah.
And another, when we were talking, another thing that I think you mentioned that you found powerful is when we actually looked at how much time does it take to do each video, because your online course is basically a sequence of videos, isn't it? And one of the things that I know we worked through is, well, let's figure out, how much time does it really take to produce a video? And I think you found that quite eye-opening, didn't you?
Yeah, because I'd never really thought about it. I just did it, So mapping it out, I was like, geez, it's a long. I spend a long time doing these videos. It's a big chunk of time, and we talked about ways maybe how could I reduce the time. Maybe you don't have to do so many edits. Maybe it doesn't have to be so whiz bang. Now that I still think I spend a long time editing, but I'm not ready to reduce that just yet.
No, but again, you were intentional, weren't you? Because I think what I was presenting to you is that you could shorten the time by making some conscious decisions about doing less of something. But you were clear, though. You were clear about what you wanted here, and you wanted a polished product, which is great. But the point is that you knew what you wanted, and you put some intention behind what you wanted. So yeah, it's a time-consuming process, but you were also able to get realistic. That, look, if I want it to be like this, then it is going to take this kind of time. And when I multiply that up by the number of videos I've got to do, that means we all talk about this kind of time period. And so there was intention there was awareness. There was that ability to again visualize the timeline.
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't actually know how long it was going to take. I didn't know how long each video took to edit. I had no idea, to be honest. Of course I had an idea, but I never actually put it down in the amount of hours. So that was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge to map it out.
One of the reasons I thought it was important for us to have that conversation is because one of the things that I think repeatedly comes up in the context of overwhelm, and whenever anybody wants to have a conversation about overwhelm, what comes up quite a lot is the fact that we tend to overestimate how much we can actually get done in a chunk of time. And when we find that we can't get that done in a chunk of time, that's when we start thinking, well, I'll work into the evening to make up for it. And so I've often found that a useful conversation to have in the context of overwhelm is to actually look in the face. How long is it really taking to get things done?
Yep. Like facts and figures, numbers, and you can't lie about that. It's and you just put it in your diary and you do it. Like, to analyze it, because I'm not very good at analyzing things. I just do them, so to look back at my previous videos and say, okay, how long did that take? And now I'm a lot more aware of the time it's taking, because I actually have it mapped out in my diary. If it runs over, I put that in as well. So now I'm like, okay, so that took that amount of time. Okay, so if I do a similar video, it'll take that amount of time. So yeah, it's good to know the figures as well. For us non-analytic people, it helps with the overwhelm, because you have it written down.
Yeah. It helps you get realistic about how long things really are going to take. Because I think, again, when we first had that conversation, and we actually looked at how long did it take per video, how many videos did you need to do, how much time would you really have available to do it, and when we put all that together and we figured out it was going to take so many weeks to do it, I think that well, I mean, I just think that was, that came across as powerful.
It's huge. And it was a little disappointing to me when I saw how long it was going to take. And I thought, oh, okay. I hadn't really planned that out because it was in my head. I thought it was going to take a lot shorter, because I had an unrealistic goal in my mind and I hadn't thought about it enough. I hadn't planned it out well enough. So at first I was a little disappointed, going, okay, that's long. That's a bit long. Maybe and I started thinking, oh, maybe I could work a little bit more on either side of the day, And I was like, no, it's going to take this long. Tough, So it brought the realism back in, and it means that you're not disappointed every day, you're not disappointed every week when you don't get done what you think you're going to get done.
Exactly, because the thing about realism is, there is a thing that goes, well, realistic according to who? Because when we talk about goals and making goals realistic, some people look at being realistic with goals, and they hear it as aiming low. And of course, it's not actually about aiming low. It's just about being somewhat realistic about what this project is going to entail. Because exactly as you say, is that when you're able to be realistic about what this project will entail in terms of effort and time, then you're not constantly facing that sense of self-disappointment, that sense of being behind, which of course creates pressure to then start working in the evenings and the weekends again. Now, the fact of the matter is I'm pretty confident, because of course you're still in the relatively early stages of this project. I'm fairly confident that you will gather speed and that you will start to get ahead of that timeline. But by being able to look the reality in the face about what this project was going to entail, not only did it create that visualizable timeline for you, but like I say, once you got over that initial feeling of, wow, I didn't realize that it was likely to take this long, it just sets you up, though, to not be disappointed every day.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's huge, because that was I was feeling that a lot.
And of course it is quite common when it comes to overwhelm, is that people are laying unrealistic expectations on themselves.
And another good thing about having that realistic approach, for me, is not that you're still getting it done, but it's also because I mentioned at the beginning that I was looking at what everyone else was doing, right? Maybe I should be doing this. Look, they're doing so much with their day. How are they doing that? I just, they have 2 kids as well. I only have 1 kid. What's the deal? But that quietened as well. Because I knew what I wanted to do, I started to accept what I was like. I'm not them, I'm just me. And this is how I'm doing it. And I'm going to just do it this way. I'm just going to follow this path. I'm just going to keep going. And I get it done when I get it done. And it's not I can't compare myself to everyone else, Yeah.
Well, exactly, because we don't know what's going on with other people. I mean, it's easy to do, isn't it? You can look at other people and see what they're achieving, but you've got no idea what else might be going on there. They might have assistance in some areas of life that you don't have assistance.
They might not be working. like
Yeah.
in a normal job. Yeah.
All kinds of things that might be going on there that we can't see.
Mm.
And you're right. I think that tendency to want to look sideways and compare ourselves with other people. The trouble is that really only produces good feelings when we can look at other people and see that they're doing worse than us. And in actual fact, I don't think it's necessarily very grounded for people to want to be doing that. The fact of the matter is that we want to keep our eyes forward. I think it's only useful to look sideways or backwards to learn. To do it as a way of making ourselves feel bad.
I know. You can really go down a dark hole there.
And the thing is, we do our best work in a good state.
Absolutely. Oh, I totally agree. You're more productive, you're more focused. Absolutely. So
Fantastic. And like I say, you have had a bump in the road because you've had a laptop fault that set you back a couple of weeks. But again, because you got the work all visualized out, it's not spinning plates up here. I can see just by looking for you that you've been able to take this in your stride.
Yeah. And this week was just back on track again, so it's just planning things out like I did before, and I feel good about it.
Fantastic. Wonderful. So, Kathryn, just before we finish up and wrap up, have you got any closing comments or thoughts that you'd like to say about the journey that you've been on?
Maybe just that if anyone feels that they're like me a little bit, that they're anxious a little bit by nature, but yet they're somewhat ambitious, and they're feeling overwhelmed by what they want to do or what they could do, that it's, believe me, like I was in a bad place before I called you. Like I really was, and it's possible. It's possible to get out of it. It's possible to get out of the bad habits. It's possible to get out of your head, to stop the guilty feelings. Maybe not 100%, but like to really get back on track with your life, to not feel so guilty, to get your balance, to get a balance back in your life, to get your priorities right. It's possible to do that. You don't have to keep going in a vicious cycle. There are ways to get out of it. I guess that's what the message I want to leave today. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I have to say that I have been really impressed with the way that you said about that, because I mean, let's be clear, although we're having conversations and I'm obviously facilitating the conversation, the fact of the matter is you are the one doing the work. You are the one who is doing the exploration of what's going on for you. You are the one that's making intentional decisions about how you want to be. You're the one putting the conclusions of this work into practice. And I think it's just fabulous the way that you've gone about that.
Yeah, it's cool, and I'm proud of myself too.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Kathryn, and thanks to everybody who's been watching this. Now, if you want to watch another video that follows up on some of the themes that we've been talking about, you should see something pop up at the side right about now. Other than that, we'll speak again soon, and I wish you health and happiness.
Bye.